Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to the channel where we peel back the velvet curtains of history and delve deep into the most compelling dramas unfolding within the world's most famous royal households. Today, we are navigating a tumultuous chapter for the British monarchy, an event that confirms that even within the most ancient of institutions, power struggles and high-stakes negotiations are constant realities. We are pulling focus onto a moment of intense pressure, a critical juncture where the very stability of the crown hung in the balance, forcing the two most senior figures, King Charles III and his heir, Prince William, to engage in what have been described as truly pointed words regarding the fate of a deeply troubled family member, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. This was not merely a family chat. This was a crucial meeting of minds, one that resulted in a seismic decision designed to shield the monarchy from further reputational damage. Before we dissect the intense dynamics and the expert analysis of this extraordinary confrontation, do remember to show your support for our detailed royal reporting. Please take a moment now to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss our in-depth explorations. Your engagement helps us bring these stories to light. The saga of Prince Andrew has long been a dark cloud hanging over Buckingham Palace, a relentless source of scandal that has threatened to erode public trust in the institution King Charles has vowed to protect. For those following the developments closely, the root of this crisis lies in the Duke of York's infamous and highly scrutinized association with the late convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. The monarchy, often referred to simply as the firm, has a singular purpose: survival and continuity. However, the recurring nature of the controversy surrounding Andrew continuously undermined this mission. The pressure reached a crescendo following a renewed media focus on the Epstein connection, particularly after a fresh email controversy resurfaced damaging details and reignited public outcry. The sheer volume of negative press and the persistent questions posed to the palace made the status quo utterly unsustainable. And then, on a pivotal date, October 17th, the well-wishers and staunch supporters of the British royals were finally permitted to take a collective, albeit cautious, sigh of relief. This was the day that the inevitable was formally announced. Prince Andrew himself conveyed the message that, following extensive and deep talks with his family, and crucially for the ultimate betterment of the entire institution, he was giving up on all remaining titles. This announcement represented the final, painful severing of his formal connection to public life under the crown. It was a move that had been widely anticipated by those who understood the severity of the crisis, yet the public confirmation still carried immense weight. The statement, released officially by Buckingham Palace, attempted to balance concession with defense. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie's father strongly reiterated his denial of the grave accusations leveled against him. This element of denial was essential to the framing of the narrative. He was not admitting guilt, but rather, he was sacrificing himself for the greater good of the monarchy. He went on to explain that after discussing the increasingly untenable situation with King Charles and the other senior members of the firm, the core group responsible for the day-to-day operations and strategic direction of the monarchy, he had made the decision to voluntarily step back. The stated purpose was noble: to ensure that the good and essential work of His Majesty's government and the royal family could flourish without the constant distraction and shadow cast by his personal, legal, and reputational struggles. But let us pause and consider the language used in that statement, because within the carefully chosen words lies the undeniable evidence of the intense internal negotiations that preceded the announcement. Royal expert Jenny Bond, a seasoned observer of the inner workings of the palace, immediately flagged a specific, highly revealing detail: Prince Andrew's strategic use of the collective pronoun we. Speaking in conversation with Sky News shortly after the announcement was made public, Ms. Bond articulated her immediate reaction, emphasizing the weight carried by that single small word. She observed, and I quote directly from her analysis, "I'm struck by the use of the pronoun we. The king, my family, and my immediate family, we have concluded that the continued accusations against me distract from the work of His Majesty." This was not a solo decision. This was not the Duke of York waking up one morning and deciding on a whim that he needed a quieter life. The inclusion of "we" signaled something far more profound and compulsory. Ms. Bond pointed out that Andrew used "we" again later in his statement, reinforcing the fact that this was a unified institutional decree. For the expert, this linguistic choice served as a clear, unmistakable indication that extreme, sustained, and perhaps agonizing pressure had been exerted upon Prince Andrew. He was being forced, in the most diplomatic terms possible, to perform what the establishment views as the decent thing, to fall on his sword. The phrase "falling on his sword" is, of course, a dramatic and ancient metaphor for accepting responsibility and making a necessary sacrifice to save others from harm or embarrassment. In the context of a royal institution obsessed with continuity and reputation, this sacrifice meant surrendering his remaining official capacity and titles to remove the source of institutional contamination. Jenny Bond's interpretation was stark and uncompromising. If he hadn't fallen on this sword, he would have been pushed very firmly onto it. This assessment paints a picture of a palace environment where the options for Prince Andrew had narrowed completely. His cooperation was not requested, it was demanded for the monarchy's survival. Now we must turn our attention to the intense, private discussions that preceded this announcement. Those high-stakes deliberations involving the two most powerful men in the realm, King Charles III and his son Prince William, the Prince of Wales. The source material reveals that the pressure applied to Andrew stemmed directly from the sharp engagement between the monarch and his heir. The use of pointed words between King Charles and Prince William suggests a fraught, perhaps even combative, discussion behind the closed, imposing doors of the palace. Why would the King and the Prince of Wales exchange pointed words if they both ultimately wanted the same outcome? Andrew's removal? The answer lies in the strategic difference in their roles and temperaments. King Charles, having waited decades for the throne, is deeply conscious of his mother's legacy and the need for stability. He favors measured, cautious institutional processes. He understands the profound difficulty of forcing a beloved sibling into exile, even a disgraced one. Prince William, on the other hand, represents the future. He is known to favor a much more streamlined, modern, and highly ethical monarchy. William is reportedly less tolerant of scandals that threaten the long-term viability of the firm. For William, the removal of Andrew was likely a matter of immediate and decisive surgical action, without undue sentimentality. The pointed words likely revolved around the speed, the severity, and the public handling of Andrew's exit. Perhaps Charles preferred a slower, more negotiated withdrawal, sensitive to the family ties. William, looking ahead, likely insisted on an immediate, unambiguous sacrifice to cleanse the institution and satisfy a skeptical public. The fact that the decision was ultimately made, and that Andrew used the collective "we" to denote a unanimous family conclusion, confirms that William's perspective, the need for decisive action, must have prevailed, or at least heavily influenced the final ultimatum delivered to the Duke of York. Imagine the scene: the king, weary but determined, standing opposite his heir, resolute and focused on the future. The conversation would have been laden with the weight of history and the future of the crown. When two figures of such immense power and differing approaches meet to discuss a matter of institutional life and death, the words exchanged are far from casual. They are indeed pointed, sharp, direct, and aimed precisely at forcing the necessary, painful conclusion. The outcome of their high-level negotiation was the removal of the remaining official vestments of Prince Andrew's royal life. While he retains his courtesy title as the Duke of York, the remaining titles he gave up were those associated with his public role, his remaining patronages, and his ability to act in any official capacity on behalf of the crown. This move was the final step in his effective banishment from the core working monarchy, a process that had been underway since the first public revelations of the Epstein scandal. For the monarchy, this internal conflict and subsequent resolution underscore a crucial reality. The institution is capable of self-correction, even when that correction involves profound personal pain and family fracture. King Charles and Prince William demonstrated that their primary allegiance is not to the individual members of the family, but to the crown itself. The pressure they exerted, which Jenny Bond so astutely identified through the analysis of the pronoun "we," was a manifestation of institutional ruthlessness. a necessary coldness required to preserve the stability of the crown for generations to come. This entire episode serves as a powerful reminder that the burden of kingship, especially in the modern era, demands difficult choices. The King and the Prince of Wales were forced to choose between familial loyalty and institutional integrity. Their pointed words and the unified front they ultimately presented signal a new era of governance within the firm, one characterized by a stricter adherence to ethical standards and a low tolerance for personal scandal that risks overshadowing the good work of the monarchy. The fact that Prince Andrew, in his statement, referenced the need to let the good work flourish confirms the success of Charles and William's strategy. They effectively cornered him, framing his withdrawal not as a punishment, but as the only honorable path left to him, thereby neutralizing the ongoing distraction and allowing the focus to return to His Majesty's duties. The relief felt by royal watchers on October 17th was palpable because this decision, born from intense internal negotiation, finally put a definitive end to the public turmoil caused by the Duke of York's associations. It solidified the image of King Charles III as a monarch, willing to make hard decisions for the sake of his reign, and reinforced Prince William's status as a formidable and forward-thinking Prince of Wales, ready to defend the institution at all costs. This event certainly gives us much to reflect upon regarding the true nature of power within the royal family and the absolute necessity of unity between the king and his heir when facing existential threats to their reputation. The saga of Prince Andrew may be closed in terms of his public role, but the memory of the pointed words exchanged between father and son will undoubtedly linger as a testament to the immense pressures involved in maintaining the modern monarchy. What are your thoughts on this profound internal negotiation? Do you believe King Charles and Prince William handled this difficult situation correctly? Do you agree with Jenny Bond's assessment that Andrew was ultimately pushed onto his sword by the combined force of the King and the Prince of Wales? We are very keen to hear your opinions and perspectives on this complex royal drama. Please share your comments below. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the high-stakes decisions being made within Buckingham Palace. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more detailed royal analyses, and join us next time as we continue to explore the fascinating world of the monarchy. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.